Hello, this is Jeet Walia. Welcome back to this video. Uh, this is part 3 from the series Getting Started with Boomi API Management. So in the first series, in the first video, we had created a file server using NFS. And in the second video, we had used that file server to create a 2-node molecule. We had also created a gateway virtual machine only in the first video, but we have not done anything with it yet. So in this video, we will configure the gateway, install and configure, and then set up our APIs. So to get started with, this is the gateway that we had created, and it has got a public IP address, which the Azure has assigned. I've opened 2 ports here already, port 443 and 18077. Port 443 will be our front-end API port, and 18077 will be our developer portal port. So at the moment, there is nothing running on this port. If we try it here, we can see that I have also done the DNS mapping. So it's the same IP address 2058.181, which the Azure has assigned. So let's go ahead and build the gateway by following the install gateway steps. So here I'm already logged into the machine, and I'm going to run the installer. I'll run this as root because we'll be running this service as a root user. Since we are using port 443, which is a privileged port, it cannot be run without elevated access. If you want to use any other port, you can use that, but you would need an external load balancer or a NATing device to convert the port. On Linux, it's not easy to use port 1024 below. So we'll go ahead and install here, add gateway, and it will be Linux, and we'll generate a token very similar to how we did for molecule. Call it Azure Gateway. We won't use any proxy. This is saying it will install it on opt. We can choose that path. Local directory, we'll call it home, Boomi local. Temp is temp. Local container directory, we'll leave it as it is. We won't need to create symlinks here. So we'll pick up this path. So while this is happening, we can see it's already getting built here. We'll go to our molecule and we'll make a couple of changes here. So by default, when you install a molecule, it comes with Share Web Server Settings, API Type Intermediate. This used to be our legacy API type, but advanced is what we use, which gives you more features. And this is where we can enable gateway. So this is the configuration we would like for this setup. So we'll simply change the molecule to use gateway. That means no one can access this service even on port 9090, but just the gateway. So let's go ahead and confirm our gateway build. So this has been built. Let's go to that directory and bin, and we see the gateway is running. So that's great. We'll go ahead and make a couple of changes here. We'll first configure this gateway location settings. So since we will use port 443, we will change this to 443. We'll also change the public URL to 443 and change from localhost to our domain name, which will be api.techdemos.net 443. And we will attach the private certificate. I've used this certificate, gotten this certificate from Let's Encrypt, which gives you free certificates and allows you to secure your APIs and services. So these settings are good. Let's save it. Let's go to these properties and also change the heap size. So the default heap size is 512 meg, but since this virtual machine has 8 gig available, we can give it a little bit of extra heap. So let's give it 6 gig and save it. So this will perform a restart of this gateway. So very similar to how we had built the molecule with the NFS service, you can also build a gateway with the NFS service to make it highly available with multiple nodes as a cluster environment. While that is happening, the cluster is restarting. In this case, it's single node. Let's go ahead and also enable the developer portal because we would like to use the developer portal. So I'll use the bind address as it is, and the public URL will be https api.techdemos.net 18077. And authentication source, we do need to have an authentication source. We'll use GW Basic, and we can use role-based access control here, which we can leave for now. So our developer portal is also configured. Okay, so the certificate is also required here. Okay, so let's go ahead and perform the last step, which is the environment migration. When we look at this gateway, this does not have any environment attached to it. And it should have this molecule in Azure environment attached to it because that's what we are configuring here. So let's go ahead and use this environment migration wizard and attach this to this gateway. All right, so the environment migration is complete. We can see now the molecule environment is attached to this gateway. If we go here now and if we reload, and we see no context path, which is an expected result. And we now need to configure the application and the plan for the API, which we will do in the next video. Thank you for watching.